All right, well, good morning and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me for today's training on how to set up security users in SalamanderLive. I do want to note that this material is generally geared towards SalamanderLive account administrators. However, if you are not in this role, don't worry, as you can still benefit from this information. Now, throughout the presentation, if you have any questions on the content I'm covering, you can either unmute yourself to ask, or you can use the chat function that's on the conference web tool to send me a question. All right, so before we dive into the security roles, I want to take some time to explain the difference between a security user profile and a person profile. There tends to be some confusion on this, so I just want to take some time to explain the difference between the two. So a personnel profile, what that's going to contain is it's going to contain your people's personnel information. So your personal information such as title, rate, qualifications, etc. And it's created in the people database, so right here. So it's created within this database. This information is then used to create your credential. All right, I'm hearing some background noise. If you have not done so, if you can, please mute yourself. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. A security user profile is created under security users, so this section right here. So this is a separate profile that is going to be created, and it's going to give users access to purchase products and features. Under the security profile, there's going to be multiple roles that can be selected for that user. And those roles are going to determine the levels of access that user has to different types of data, such as your people database, inventory or equipment, events, and those reports within those events that your organization has created, and then also access to other applications like Rapid-Tag, Frac App, and the Inventory app. Give me a second, I'm still hearing some background noise. If you haven't done so, please mute yourself. I'm just going to mute everybody, I apologize. All right, thank you. All right, so when SalamanderLive is purchased, the purchasing organization is going to become the account holder. So you see at the top here, so we've created this chart to kind of give you a visual of how the security roles are going to work. So the account holder, this is the highest level of the hierarchy. From there, you can have organizations and sub-organizations, and we also term that as child organizations. And those child organizations or sub-organizations can be created and added underneath, thus creating this tree, this hierarchy. So when it comes to security access, SalamanderLive really takes a top-down approach, meaning that a user can have access in the account level, so as the account holder, at the account level up here, and then also utilize that access in the organizations below, so all these organizations. However, a user can also be limited to a single organization for access. So they could be a user for a child organization down here, and only for that child organization. So that's all controlled by that security user profile. So there are 14 predefined security roles available within a standard SalamanderLive subscription. I understand that some organizations do have some additional ones, but this is the standard subscription. This is what they're going to get, is 14 predefined security roles. These roles can be changed for any user by the account administrator or organization administrator at any time. If a security user is given permission to create other security users, they are able to only assign a role at that same level or lower than their own. So that's going to be very important. Also, a user can be assigned multiple roles. So if you are a user that has multiple roles, you're going to be given every privilege available within those roles that are assigned. So in here, you'll see in here the security roles, that section down here. If you choose role, those are all the ones that are going to appear for you to select. All right, so let's take some time to go through each of the 14 security roles here so that everybody has a better understanding of what those roles allow and don't allow. So administrator. So administrator is going to be the highest role within SalamanderLive. We just talked about that. The administrator, it gives a user full access to all assigned products, to all features, and then data for the entered organization and child organization. When I say entered organization, what I'm talking about is this right here. So you have the ability to select that role, administrator, and then assign them to a specific organization. So either they're going to be at the parent organization, so at the account level, or they're going to be at the child level. So that's where you can control that as well. So this role is generally reserved for the account or organization administrators who will be responsible for creating and managing access for other users within the account or individual organization. Now, the administrator role does not have restrictions. Therefore, we recommend that this only be handed out to a select few, and all other roles should be used for operation. The next role is administrator no security. So this is the second highest role within SalamanderLive. What this role does is it gives the user the same access as administrator, except that it restricts the user from being able to add security users and edit their permission. So creating that security profile, this role does not allow them to do that. Apologize, I'm still getting some background noise here, so I'm just going to mute everybody. Okay, I've just muted everybody. If you have a question, you can unmute yourself to ask a question, or you can use that chat function, okay? So I apologize on that. It's just a lot of background noise on that. All right, so this is the administrator no security. We just went through that. Next is the app user, no medical. So this role is recommended to those who will be utilizing any of the mobile applications, such as the Tag app, the Track app, and the Inventory app. It also allows a user to view people, equipment and inventory, qualifications, and event data within the apps. So as of today, the only mobile application you can view medical information that's captured within a person's record is going to be within the Tag app. However, to view this information, we need to add an additional role called read only to your user profile. So that's what it's telling you here, is that this user role allows you to access the applications, but if the application allows you to see medical information, this role does not allow you to do that. You will need to add in that additional role called read only, which we'll cover in a little bit here. Next is the equipment management role. So this role allows the user to only access and manage equipment or inventory data. So users that are within this role can also log into the inventory app and issue out equipment. However, because they don't have access to the people database, because this role limits them, restricts their access to the people database, they can't download people into the issue card. So they are limited to scanning people's credentials when issuing out equipment using the inventory app. So I just want to make sure that that's clear on that. You still are able to use the inventory app. It's just that you're restricted to only scanning people in. You'll still have access to download all your inventory and issue them. Just have to scan those ID tags. Next is the incident management role. This role, it allows a user to create and join events within the Track app. It also allows them to create security users and manage events and their associated reports within SalamanderLive. So in the Track app, users assigned only this role will not be able to download any assignments or resources to an event, but they can still scan credentials as normal. So again, they don't have access to those assignments. They don't have access to people or equipment, but they can still scan in people and equipment to an assignment as long as they have those barcodes. The incident manager role is very similar to the incident management role. The only difference between the two is that users with the incident manager role cannot add security users and edit their permissions. So this role allows them to just manage events, event data, but no security users. They are still, of course, able to access the track app and create events through there as well, and scan resource tags in order to get them into the event. The incident medical ref role, this role is restricted to only those accounts who have purchased RapidTag evac. So RapidTag evac is our patient and evacuee tracking solution. With this role assigned, what it allows is that a user can then manage medical reference data. So there's medical reference data such as like within the RapidTag, there's triage priorities, facilities, and special needs information. And these are all optional data that can be captured for each person that's registered within RapidTag evac. And so with this role, it gives you access to go in and enter and edit that data for those fields. PIN management, so this is a new role that was released this past December with the PIN join feature. So the PIN join feature, if you're unfamiliar with that, we've covered this many times within the last couple months here, but the PIN join feature uses a 6-character PIN that allows organizations and accounts to join events across different organizations or accounts outside of their own user permissions. So this feature is restricted to administrator levels or users. However, when users are assigned the PIN management role, it also gives them that capability. So it gives them access to those PIN management features. So there's 2 features that are going to open up when they get this PIN management role. So normally this is, again, that PIN feature is restricted to administrators, but this role gives them access to those same features. The org admin no delete role. So this role, it allows a user to manage people, to manage inventory, collections, event information, view reports. However, the user cannot delete records and they cannot create security users. So this role is really recommended for users who are responsible for managing resources and event data for a specific organization. The read-only role, this role allows a user to only view information, including medical information in all reports. So this is that role that should be added to a tag app user that needs to be able to read medical information. So again, this could be a role that can be provided to higher ups that don't need to go in and edit data or add data, but they need to go in to view the information, especially when it comes to events and the event reports. The resource data entry role. This is probably one of the most widely used role. This role uses or allows the users to manage all record data. So record data including people, equipment, assignments. They can import those information. They can also add in collections. However, they are not able to add organization information or edit organization information. They aren't able to edit or add anything to the qualifications and training, and they don't have event management access. Users with this role also do not have access to print ID tags. So this role is really reserved for those whose main role is to add and update personnel and equipment or inventory data. Next is the resource print only role. So this role allows a user to only view people, equipment collection, and assignment records and print ID tags. So this role is recommended for those whose sole responsibility is to print credentials or inventory labels. Now I've seen a lot where agencies are adding the resource print only role with the resource data entry only role, so that that individual is able to go in and add, edit data, but then also print off new credentials. So I see that these two roles are kind of added together for users. The resource qual management role. So this role allows a user to only access qualifications and training database for the account. So users, in order to access the qualifications and training database, the users have to be assigned to the parent organization, so at the account level, in order to get access. You can't access qualifications and training, that database, under a child organization. They have to be set at the parent. So this role is recommended for those whose sole responsibility is to manage qualifications for organizations. And last is the resource view only role. So this role is very similar to the read only role in that it allows a user to view record data only. However, it does restrict them from viewing medical and event information. So they can only go in and view people, equipment, inventory, collections, assignments, but they don't have access to the event information. Any questions on this before we dive into Salamander Live and show you how to add in the security users? Okay, no questions. All right. Let me get Salamander Live up here. So you should see Salamander Live up here. I am in version 2 for Salamander Live. So if you log in, so I'm gonna do two different ways on here. I've logged in as a user for the account level. So this user right here is at the account level. I am also set up as a administrator, which means that I have full access to all products and capabilities. So all access. I've got no restrictions for this account. So down at the left-hand side, if you have access to adding security users, you should see this. If you don't have access, you will not see this link at all. Okay? So security users, go ahead and click on that. That's going to take you into your security users list. So this is on my training side. So this is everybody that's set up as a user for this account. Now, to add a new security user, simply click the plus button. As you know, this right here, this setup right here is the same for every single list database. So your people, equipment, collections, all of it's the same on here. You have that add new button. So I'm going to add new. This is going to pull up the security user form. So every field on this, every information on this is going to be required. So first things first is the username. So you can use whatever username that you want to create in here. I know a lot of agencies use the first part of the email. Some actually use the email address. Whatever it is, we recommend that you try to keep the naming convention for usernames consistent. So in this case, I am going to put Jephthah Adams. So in this case, my username, Jephthah Adams, in here as I start typing. You'll notice as you start typing that you're going to get this drop-down list. This drop-down list, when you start typing the full name, is pulling from your people database. So this is saying, do you want to link the security user to its profile, its personnel profile? You have that option. If you link this on here, that's okay. It does resolve an issue that comes up on the actual security user profile, which I'll talk about, that's related to the tag app. If this person does not exist in here, it's okay. You do not have to link a security user to an actual personnel profile. That is not required. in order to create a secure user. You can create the security user first and then create the person's profile afterwards. Doesn't matter. So in this case, I'm going to select this person, but if it wasn't in here, let's say for example, you were typing, you see in there, I had another S on here. There's no pop-up down here. That means that Jephthah Adams with 2 double S's do not exist. So I just want to let you guys know that you're able to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and select this person to link the security user profile to their personnel profile. Next is to enter in a password. So passwords on here does require 8 characters with 1 capital, 1 lowercase, 1 number, and 1 special character at minimum. Email address. This is the email address for the person. We recommend you put in their email address in here. If they forget their password, they can reset their own password in this case. So you want to make sure that you set up their correct email address in here. Organization, I think this is going to put time zone, central, do Moosewood, Fire Department. So I'm adding this person to Moosewood Fire Department, which is a child organization for my account. So this is where you can add them to the parent account, or you can add it to a child account. So in this case, this person belongs to a child organization, so that's what I'm doing right here, is adding it to a child organization. So I'm going to click Save. Once you click Save, it's going to pull up that user's profile. So this is the user profile. So the top here is going to have that base information, right? So the base information that you just entered in. If you need to edit this information at any time, you can click Profile, or you can click the pencil icon, okay? So in this case, we added Jephthah Adams in here. If we did not link his record, I'm going to delete this really quick here. I'm going to show you guys this real quick. If we did not link his record, you would see this option right here that says to turn the tag app, or to turn on the tag app, you have to link a personnel record to the user account. If you're familiar with the tag app and you've used it before, you know that the tag app is an application that allows you to pull or generate a electronic barcode that contains your personnel information. And it also allows you to remotely check into an event. This is why the tag app requires your profile, or your personnel profile, is that because it requires that in order to generate that electronic barcode. And so that's why it's requiring you to enter this information right here. So if that person does not exist in your personnel database here, you can always click to create a new personal record right here. So when you do that, what it's going to do, it's going to create a linked person. It's going to create a basic profile for this person. So just name, organization, and ID. That's all it's going to create. So then what you'll need to do afterwards is once you create this, you'll need to go back in and edit that record so that it has the most updated information. So that's all it's telling you right there. In this case, if you are editing an existing profile, you're like, oh, well, there is already a record for Jephthah Adams. Just go into the profile in here, go into the full name, delete that, and start typing that in again. And you'll see that it'll pop up on here. Oops. And then you want to select that and then click Save. Once you do that, it'll link those records again back together. Okay, so I want to make sure that that's clear on that part right there. In here, of course, you have the ability to change the password. This is where you can go in and change the password for all your users under your account. If for some reason they lock themselves out or something and they can't use that forgot password link, you can always change their password for them by going into their profile and changing that password. This here is going to be more related to inventory management, where you're able to update your subscriptions. So this, again, just allows you to do that. And, of course, you have the ability to disable this. So this is this information at the bottom here, or at the top here. In the middle of the page is going to be products. So here is going to be where you're going to select the products. What products or features should this person have access to? So in this case, I'm under my training account, so I have access to all products all features, okay? So again, this is going to be based off of what you, your organization, your agency has purchased. So you may not have all these features right here. You may not have all these products on here. Again, it's because it's based off of what you've purchased, okay? So for Salamander Live, you'll see that there's a ton of different features underneath here: GIS mapping, plan, qualification verification, inventory, and chart. Okay. So if you click the arrow there, it's going to expand that section. So in this case, if this person should have access to everything in Salamander Live, I can click this checkbox and it's going to select everything. Okay. I don't even need to go in there if I know that this person should have access to everything. However, if I want to restrict their access, I can go in there and say, okay, they should not have access to chart. They should not have access to plan. They should have access to inventory and GIS mapping. Since they're going to be a track app user, in this case, I can select track app. They're going to be a track app user. I want them to have access to GIS mapping. And I want them to have access to inventory to manage that database. So right here, I can go in there and select those specific products and features for Salamander Live that they're going to have access to. Now, underneath that is going to be more for applications. So you've got the track app plus Salamander identity verification. So identity verification is now included. So we just changed that recently. So every account that purchases the track app will automatically get Salamander identity verification. So by default, they'll be turned on in your track apps. If you want to turn that off, you'll need to go into your track apps and turn off that feature. So we'll have some training on that next month where we're going to cover GIS mapping and Salamander identity verification. So make sure that you join that training if you're unfamiliar with those two features. Next on here is the tag app. Is this person, should they have access to the tag app? A rapid tag, should they have access to rapid tag? I'd say that most agencies use a generic username and password for rapid tag. That's the one that most people don't purchase many of. They'll have one or two or three of them because those are going to be placed in your staging areas or your check-in areas. And most agencies will use the generic logins for that. Versus for the track app, tag app, and inventory app, they'll actually assign those to individuals for tracking purposes. So in this case, you also have the ability for assigning inventory app. Should they also have the inventory app? Underneath each one of these is just going to be the specific contracts on here. So you see on here, it's just the contract. So that's why that little expansion is available there. So in this case, if I select the tag app, it's going to automatically select this contract because there's this contract that's in here that lets me know that the contract for this product ends at this time. So January 1st, 2025. So that's the contract for this. So I've given this person access to Salamander Live with inventory, GIS mapping, track, and the inventory app. Now, inventory here is different than the inventory app. So as you know, there's two parts to inventory management or asset management. One is the management of your inventory within Salamander Live. So that's what this is. This is all the inventory functions available within Salamander Live under the equipment database. Okay, so that's what this access is given them to. This here is all about the inventory app. Just because you give them the inventory app does not mean they can log in and start editing and adding information into Salamander Live. So this is a separate thing. This is access to only the inventory app. Okay. So once I've selected all the products and features this person should have access to, next is to decide on the role. So this is going to list all the different roles that's available in here. So all the roles that I just went through in that PowerPoint presentation. There are some of these that you'll see on here that's extra, that's not included on there. For example, customer training, TR inventory management. These are just roles that we've created just for training purposes for different accounts. So don't pay attention to any of these here. The ones that are, again, on the standard subscription are all available here. So now you're looking at what role should this person have? Are they going to be an administrator? Are they going to be should this person be able to go in there, edit, and see all information, and also be able to create security users for the specified organization? or are they should have access to everything except for this here. So I'm going to put in administrator no security. So when you do that, when you select a role, there's going to be an info button that populates on here that shows you the role permissions. So if you click on that, it's going to, and I'm hoping you guys can see this. I know that the check marks are a little bit light on here, so hopefully you can see this. But this here gives you a visual of everything that role allows access to. So with this administrator no security, you'll see in here that they're able to create all of this stuff right here, manage events. You'll see they'll be able to read data, update data, and delete data, and as well as print data. The only thing you'll see on here is the security user section. It's all blank. That means that they don't have access to create security users. That's why there's no check marks right here. Okay, so again, this is right here to kind of help you, and we're not, requiring you to remember all the roles and what their access is, but this chart will help you kind of decide whether or not you want that person to be able to view or access those specific databases. So I'm giving this person administrator no security. So next, once you select the role, you're going to say which organization should this person have access to. Okay, so in this case, this person is part of Moosewood Fire Department. So that's where we're going to give them access to, is Moosewood Fire Department. Moosewood Fire Department. And then you have the option of giving him access to any child organizations that's underneath Moosewood Fire Department. So this is where you're going to say, okay, should this person only have access to Moosewood Fire Department and no children, or should they have access to everything Moosewood Fire Department and all children underneath that? So if you want him to have access to all children underneath Moosewood Fire Department, you can click apply. So click the checkbox and click apply. So now we've added administrator no security. As you know, the administrator roles allows them access to everything. So there's no additional role we need to select for this person in order for them to get access to the track app and or inventory, because this role right here is an administrator role that already gives them that access. In this case, if we selected a different role, for example, we selected resource data entry. Let me just delete this role real quick here. In this case, if we selected resource data entry only, meaning that in Salamander Live, we only want them to access the people database, equipment collections, assignments, and importing. That's all we want them to access. That we want them to go in and update that information for Moosewood Fire Department. I can add that in here. This is a restriction. If you remember, there's restrictions on this. This does not mean that they have access to the track app and the inventory app. So you'll need to give them access to that. So you need to add in that other role, which is this role right here, the app user no medical. So we're going to add this app user no medical role, and we're going to give them access to Moosewood Fire Department and all children, and tap apply. So you're tacking on these roles and you're tacking on those permissions to provide that person access to everything that you've assigned them in here, okay? Now, if you wanted this person to also be able to print, as you know, this role here does not allow them to print. So you would need to also add in that role to allow them to print. So right here, resource print only. Again, for just Moosewood Fire Department, I can tap apply. So in this case, it's his role right here. So resource data entry, app user no medical, resource print only. So he has 3 different roles that gives him capabilities for each one of these. So in this case, I'm going to actually log out of this one. I'm going to log in with Jephthah Adams so you can see what that does to his login when he logs in, okay? So Jephthah, spell his name. So I've logged into his profile. This is what those roles give him access to in here. So you see on here, you've got people, equipment, collections, organizations, assignments, you've got events, you've got the import function on here. And of course, Salamander University. So those are the roles, those roles right there give them access to that. The app user is what gives them access to the events piece right here, because that allows them to go into the track app to create events, allows them to go into the inventory app to select an event. So you'll see in there they'll be able to go in there and manage that data. Okay. Everything else, security users, qualifications and training, all that are not available. Go back into here. Log back into here. So in this case, I'm going to just pull this organization's hierarchy for you to see. I'm under my training account, so I just want to make sure that this makes sense to the hierarchy for organizations. So again, this is where you can see that visual. So if you go to organization and you click on the second icon at the top, which is your chart view. So this is your list view, this is your chart view. This chart view will give you that hierarchy, okay? So this is the SalaLive training, so no matter who you are, Salamander Technologies will always be the parent. Your account will be the secondary, okay? So if you are the parent, you will see the secondary on here. Underneath that, you'll see all the child organizations. This is because of my access. I'm set at the parent level. I can see all this information. So you'll see down here, Moosewood Fire Department is down at the bottom here. So Moosewood Fire is actually underneath Moosewood County. At least I think so. Let me go in here. Where did I put him? Yeah, put him there. Moosewood Police. Click these different folders in here. Oh, here it is, Moosewood Fire. So you see in here Moosewood Fire, Moosewood County, and then Moosewood Fire is down here. So Moosewood Fire Department does not have any child organizations. So even though I selected that, there's nothing that this organization is going to have underneath. However, in the future, if Moosewood Fire Department, if I should go in and create those organizations underneath Moosewood Fire Department, that user, Jephthah Adams, would have access to those organizations as well. So this here is kind of your hierarchy. If I selected Moosewood Police Department for him instead, he would have access to all these different organizations underneath Moosewood Fire Department, okay? So that's kind of, this here will kind of help you figure out that hierarchy and what organization you want them to have access to. For those that have a state implementation, this is where it's going to really help out giving you that visual. Now going back into this, let's go back to Jephthah Adams. Let me just clear this really quick. Do a search. So search, I just clicked the little drop down from the username, just typed in Jephthah to filter my list. So that's how I did that. So in this case, I'm going to go back into his profile. We're just going to use his profile again. So in this case, if he is set up at the parent level, I'm just going to change his profile. Okay, I'm going to change his organization. I'm going to change his organization on here. So I'm going to put him at the parent level. So I'm going to change this. So when I change the organization, it deletes everything in here. It deletes all the products because, as you know, the products are going to be based off on what that organization has access to. So each organization is also going to have limited access depending on how everything is set up. For example, inventory management, as you know, with the access to and the subscription to that there's different packages that involves inventory management. There's a package that's one organization, packaged with 3 organizations, 5 organizations. So if you don't select the organization that purchased the inventory management, if you select a different organization up here, they're not going to have access. So you want to put them to that organization that should have the inventory features. Okay, so SalaLive training, I put them at the parent level. In this case, if I selected SalamanderLive again, I select inventory, I select GIS mapping. I want him to manage and see the chart. I also want him to have access to the track app and inventory. So I'm going to need to change this now because he's at the parent level. So I'm going to delete all these real quick here. So in this case, this person is going to be, let's put this person as let's do equipment management. To add equipment management, this person, actually, remove the chart there. This person is going to be managing inventory for this account right here, SalaLive Trading. So in this case, I'm going to select the organization in which he should have access to for data management. If I only want him to have access to the parent account, I don't have to select children on here. So in this case, I'm going to apply. This case, I'm just going to say he should only have access to this here. We'll apply it. So now he's got equipment access only to the parent account. No child organization for this person. In this case, he also has the track app and inventory. As you guys know, with equipment management, he'll still have access to the inventory app. The only difference is that he's not going to be able to download people since he only has access to equipment. So I can add another role in here to allow him to see that information, which is that app user no medical, and then give him at the parent level, and I can also choose to include children. So this here is kind of a unique situation. Depends on how you guys want to set this up, but at the app user at the parent level, we usually recommend it, you know, making sure that you select children when it comes to the track app and the inventory app, so that you are able to, so for example, if someone comes to check in and you're using the track app to check them in and they forgot their credential, their ID tag, you're able to go into the track app and also in the inventory app, and you're able to download their record into the assignment. So if they are restricted right here, that means they'll only have specific access to certain organizations, which may not help their situation. So that's what we always recommend at the parent, but again, this is really up to you and your organization, your agency, and your SOPs and how you want to set that up. But in this case, I'm giving this person full access to the parent. All they're being able to do is to read that information within those applications. They aren't able to edit it, download it, or anything, or edit or create. They're only able to read that information. So I'm going to apply that. So now I've got this person that's going to have access to that information, okay? So in this case, equipment management, app user, will log out, log back in so you can see this new changes. Just going to save him in here. There he is. Equipment on here, you'll see he has access to the people, but it's only read-only. So equipment, you'll see in here that he has access to add. You see the plus button at the top here? And of course, you'll be able to do an import. Now, there's one more role that I kind of want to talk about on this. It's not actually a role. It's access to Salamander University. So in the security users, as you know, as you set security users up and you set these users up in the system, it takes away from your licenses. So with SalamanderLive, let's go back in here. For SalamanderLive, you've got certain licenses, right? User licenses. Those are separate than your user licenses for the track app. Same thing for your tag app, for Rapid Tag and inventory app. Every single one of these has their own licenses. As you use up those licenses, those products will disappear from here, which will not allow you to select them, okay? So that's what happens when you run out of licenses, is that they're not going to be selectable. However, there is a way for you to give your people access to Salamander University. As you know, Salamander University is our online library that has all the tools, all the resources to learn how to use all of our software, all of our solutions. There's a bunch of user guides in there, quick reference guides that can help you if you need to train someone on how to quickly use any of our softwares. So there is a way for you to add someone into the system without taking away one of your SalamanderLive user licenses. And that is by creating them a basic profile with no products assigned. So you don't select them, you do not select any products, and you don't select a role. You put them into their organization in which they're supposed to be under, so that way you can still have that. So if this person is really truly supposed to be under Moose with Fire, just put them back under Moose with Fire. So Moose with Fire Department, I'm not selecting any products, I'm not selecting any roles. When this person logs into SalamanderLive, they will have full access to this Salamander University. That's it. They'll have a blank, their profile will be there, but that's all they'll have is access to this. Doing this does not take away from your licenses, okay? So I just want to make sure that everybody on the call here understands that you're able to still get your people access to training without taking away from your licenses. So I'm going to log back out and log back in under Jeff Adams so you can see that. So you see in here, all it's going to pull their profile. They can go in there, edit their own password. They can change their email. They can change their time zone. But all they have access is Salamander University. So this is where they can still go in, complete training on what they need to in order to utilize any of those solutions, such as Rapid Tag. If you want them to have access to training for Rapid Tag, you can give them access to this, and they can go in there and complete training on Rapid Tag, depending on the version you have. Okay, so I just want to make sure that I explain that that is an option that's available for you to make sure that those users get trained up. Any questions on what I've covered so far? Questions? I'll open up the mode. I see a question that popped up. No questions? All right. Right. Okay. So no questions. I think we've covered everything that we need to within the security user roles. The only thing I kind of want to show you guys is these filters. Yeah. The other thing I want to talk about is the report. So there is a report function at the top here that you're able to pull information for. So this right here, there's two different reports. There's a CSV export. As you know, this CSV export report is going to be based off of your master filter you set up on here. So it's only going to pull this information. The user role detail is going to pull the user roles for every single person that has a security user that you have access to. So a role that's set up. And it's going to give you information on what products they have access to and what role they've been assigned. So this is going to help you out, especially if you're limited with licenses. You can go in there and change things around if you need to. So this right here, I'm going to make this a little bigger. So this right here just shows you like these roles right here. So the role that I was at was Salamander Trainer 2. So it's tied to my training account. It gives me access. So right here it tells me I've got these two roles that's assigned to me. And then it tells me that I have access to all products. So at the top here, these are all the products. So it just basically lists all the products, what do they have access to and what they don't have access to. So this report will help you immensely if you're looking at moving licenses around, if need to. Of course, we prefer if you contact your local sales rep to get more licenses, so you're not needing to do that. But if you don't have the budget and you need to move some licenses, especially when it comes to like the inventory apps, you can move those around. Move those around by verifying who has what. Okay. Other than that, I think that completes this training on security users and roles. Does anyone want to see a specific role and see what that role is going to give, what type of access that person is going to get? Anybody want to see that? Let me know. Either send me a chat or you can unmute yourself and ask, and I'll make sure to show that. So I'm opening it up for questions, comments, feedback. Anybody? No questions? All right. If you have questions, let me just pull up my contact information on here. So here's my contact information. You can always email me at training@salamanderlive.com. If you have your local sales rep's contact information, I recommend you contact them as well. Contact them first, especially if you're in a state-type implementation. Make sure you contact your account rep there, or your account administrator, I meant. If you're part of Midwest Card, make sure you contact your local sales rep there. Anything else, please make sure to reach out if you have questions. Other than that, if there's no questions, I'll end the call. Make sure you guys come back and join me next month when I cover GIS mapping and the Salamander identity verification feature. So you guys all have a wonderful day, and thank you again for joining me on this call.